The Serbian sensation starting to make him dizzy.
Jokic up top. Gordon. As Jokic just continues to expand the imagination of what a center could be, can he now lead this team to a championship?
Oh, look at James leave it for Anthony Davis. Game 1 belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. Final seconds, Reeves. It'll count if it goes. Oh, he puts it in from half court at the buzzer. And the Lakers pouring it on right now. A dominant victory here in Game 6. The 7th seed is going to the Western Conference Finals, but they've got a lot of work still to come against a superb Nuggets team.
That's right. We're fired up for the Western Conference Finals. Lakers and Nuggets Game 1 coming up tonight. More on that in just a bit. This, folks, is Green Dot Daily. Brendan Glasheen filling in for Maria Marino today. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel. Also live in the Action Network app. You can also find us on demand. So if you missed the show live, check us out before the games get underway this evening. Coming up on the show, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss Nuggets, Lakers, also Celtics, Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Anthony Dabbundo is going to stop by. We will discuss Champions League soccer. Also, he has a few underdogs he likes today in Major League Baseball. And the Line Change Pod weighs in on the Final Four in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's all coming up on the show. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We will start our NBA segment with Matt Moore with some breaking news to the program. Doc Rivers has been dismissed from the Philadelphia 76ers. The head coach is on his way out. It's official. According to the team account, Rivers in 3 seasons put together a win percentage north of 65%. Did not get the Sixers to the conference finals in his tenure. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN is reporting the Sixers search for a new coach is expected to include Mike Budenholzer, formerly of the Bucks, Sam Cassell, Mike D'Antoni, Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, Monty Williams. It's a long list of retreads. Matt Moore joining us now to react. Doc is out. Your reaction?
Not surprising. I mean, given that Daryl Morey didn't hire Doc, that was always a kind of a question mark when Morey took over, was whether or not those two would be able to get along and whether their visions kind of were in line. Doc is not the kind of coach that coaches the way that Morey has chosen in the past. So not a big shock there. When you go out in the conference semifinals in embarrassing fashion as many times as the Sixers have, there's going to be consequences, and you're not going to Joel Embiid's not going to be the one to face those consequences. So somebody was going to have to pay, and it winds up being Doc Rivers. Doc will probably go on and still have another gig somewhere. And honestly, he'll be good. Doc Rivers is a good coach. He's not a great coach. He's never been the coach to kind of get you over the hump. Had a championship season in Boston with KG and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. But outside of that, been honestly kind of disappointing in terms of the playoff stuff. But it shouldn't overlook how good he is in the regular season, building a culture, and how good his teams are overall. If you're in need of a good coach to set you up, Doc Rivers is a great coach. He's just not the one to get you kind of over the hump. It'll be interesting to see what the Sixers do here, because they're going to have to figure out a lot of moving parts before they make this hire. They got to figure out what's going on with James Harden. Is he going back to Houston? They got to figure out Joel Embiid wants to stay even after winning the MVP. They got to figure out what the direction of the roster is. There's a lot of things up in the air with the Sixers franchise. Doc is probably the first domino and not the last when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers.
And I did mention one of the names that Woj reported was Sam Cassell, who was on Rivers' staff in Philadelphia. So they could stick with someone who has been part of the culture tone setting that Doc established in 3 years. So that's potentially a choice if they want to stay in-house. But yeah, I hear you. The culture tone setting, he checks all the boxes, the adjustments. You've mentioned it time to time when you do the Buckets podcast. So we will see. Sixers have lots of choices to make. As far as the teams that are still playing, Western Conference Finals, we got the people amped up with that very solid video reel put together to open up the show. Lakers Nuggets Game 1 tonight, Ball Arena in Denver. Lakers are plus 200 on the money line. Denver minus 250 at BetMGM. Totals at 222.5, and the Nuggets are laying 6.5 points. What is your play for Game 1 tonight?
Let's start with the over 222.5 as we kind of look at how this game is likely to play out. The Lakers are going to push pace, and they're going to push a lot in this game one. They're going to really try and get this game under control from the start. This game is extremely important, and so they're going to push a lot in this game. The Lakers are a great transition team. They're an elite transition team. The Nuggets are really bad in transition. They haven't really been challenged in that regard. They've done pretty well this postseason, but they haven't been really challenged. The Suns are not a great fast break team. The Wolves were not a great fast break team. The Nuggets also turn the ball over a lot in the regular season. They've again done very well in that in the postseason. They handle it well versus a Wolves team that forces a lot of turnovers, but the Suns don't. So that wasn't really a threat. The Lakers are likely to cause a lot of turnovers and get downhill. The Nuggets, on the other hand, they've come out in both game ones of their series and they've looked to push pace, to take advantage of the altitude, to try and wear teams out. They play with a little bit more aggression and a lot better pace in terms of getting into their sets. I think this is entirely a pace play. I think in general here, I think the Lakers are going to struggle on defense, stopping this Nuggets team with so many weapons a lot more on their end than the Nuggets will with the Lakers offense, which has been pretty mediocre, but the Lakers will create opportunities in transition. So all of that kind of leads me to an overplay on the 222.5 since I don't want to side.
Okay, let's backtrack real quick because I should have asked you about a general series outlook first. So you're on the over. We'll get to the side and why you're not interested in the side in just a moment. But from a series pick perspective, you are willing to lay a game and then some on Denver to come out of the West.
Yeah, so like Nuggets minus 1.5 on the series spread plus 140. This is less about a confidence play in Denver. It's more about this. I'll tell you this. Whenever any of these people that just do picks and don't do the betting side, whenever they're like, well, I like the Nuggets in 7, that's a ridiculous pick. You know what that says? It says, well, it's a coin flip and home teams usually win. Like, I'll take the favorite at home in a coin flip. Like, okay, great. One team is better or one team is not. Like, that's where you should get to. And it's not that you can play the over on series games. I think there's probably value there. But taking Nuggets in 7 is a very weak position and doesn't actually lead you to very much. It's telling, though, that that's where the market has kind of indicated. I think this will be a long series that the Nuggets win. I'm going to go ahead and take the minus 1.5 here. If the Nuggets are better, they will have been better. They will win the first 2 games at home, hold serve in home court. They'll win one of the games on the road and have an opportunity to close this out in 5 or potentially on the road in game 6. You say, like, Denver hasn't been great on the road. They're really going to beat LeBron in the game 6 elimination closeout game. Denver went in and beat Kevin Durant in a closeout game last series. Kevin Durant's not LeBron James for sure. This isn't LeBron James of a couple of years ago. If the Nuggets are better, they're going to win this series and they're going to win it pretty outright. I'm not going to 2.5. That's ridiculous. I don't think the Nuggets are beating this Lakers team in 5, but I think winning in 6 gives you much better value at plus 140 than just playing the heavy number on the Nuggets, which I don't think is a good number. This is a good number at Nuggets minus 1.5 plus 140.
Yeah, and that game 6 win in Phoenix was not just a win. It was a comfortable win. And that brings into a lot of discussion about the depth with Phoenix, et cetera, et cetera. The Lakers, I think, are a little deeper than what Phoenix is. Top of the talent, top of the roster, both pretty formidable. Bottom of the roster, Lakers have a better back end than the Phoenix Suns do. So you mentioned how you're not interested in the side, but if you were to be on the Lakers side of things, this is why you're staying away, because if the Lakers were to win game 1, my point is, you have a suggestion to folks that want to back the Lakers for the series. There's an angle why tonight might be the night. Explain.
Yeah, I'm not so sold on Nuggets minus 1.5 plus 140 that I'm like, oh yeah, this is a hammer spot. This is a great situation. The Nuggets are way better. No, like, the Lakers can win this series. The Nuggets have never beaten the Lakers in a playoff series. History says the Lakers win this series. That's what history says, because teams like the Lakers advance to the finals and teams like the Nuggets do not. And if that sounds overly narrative-y, guess what? Welcome to the NBA playoffs, which time and time again has proven the narrative has trumped the numbers, the basketball, all of that stuff. And that's before we get into LeBron's history with facing non-Warriors teams. So here's the angle. If you like the Lakers, if you lean the Lakers side, which I think is totally reasonable, bet them game 1 to win the series, to win game 1 and win the series. The reason I don't want to side in this game is exactly because of that. If the Nuggets lose this game, I think the Lakers win the series. The Lakers have won game 1 on the road in the previous 2 series versus better opponents as an underdog. This would be the 3rd time doing it. This is the script for the Lakers. Push in game 1, steal game 1, take home court. Back off in game 2. Don't burn out your stars. Let the other team beat you in a blowout in game 2. Come back in games 3 and 4, build a 3-1 lead, and then close it out in 5 or 6 at home. Like, that has been the way that they've won the first 2 series. Denver's better than the Warriors. Denver's better than the Grizzlies. But if you like the Lakers and they have played so well and they have found ways to get the wins that they've needed, you need to bet Lakers to win game 1, Lakers to win the series. Don't just bet Lakers to win the series. Get in on game 1. I genuinely think that this first game is going to decide who wins the series. That's where the best value on this play is.
Plus 350 at BetMGM. Lakers to win game 1 and the Lakers to win the series at plus 350 as we sit here today over at BetMGM. Celtics Heat Eastern Conference Finals game 1 will take place on Wednesday night. Looking at the current price for that particular series, the Celtics are favorites, 8.5-point favorites. Totals at 210.5. There were plenty of slogs when these two teams got together last year in the conference finals. Miami plus 300 on the money line. Is this a letdown spot for Boston? I'm not going to use the bad word you used when I listened to the Action Network podcast the other night, but I can use the other version of it. You think the Celtics may or may not F around in a couple of these games?
Yeah, the Celtics are going to screw around. Like, they're going to mess around. That's what they do. They lost 2 to the Hawks. Do you think that the Hawks beat the Heat, which is really funny, and that's what set up this entire matchup? But do you really think that the Hawks are going to take more games off of the Celtics than the Heat do? Is that really a thing that we think? I don't think so. Yeah. They're going to mess around. The Celtics are better. They should win the series. I think they will win the series. And I think we'll honestly have a great opportunity to bet the Celtics later in the series. If you want Boston, just wait. I don't think your value is going to get worse. I don't see this being 2-0 or 2-1. I think this is genuinely going to be Heat 2-1 after 3 games. I don't mind the value on those prop bets coming out. And then I'll give you an opportunity to come back and bet Boston if they go down 2-1. The market will have to over adjust and you'll get here. One of the reasons I like the Heat to win game 1, look at this. Since 2003, teams coming off of a game 7, this is courtesy of our friend of the program, former colleague, Raheem Palmer of the Ringer Gambling Show. Teams that are coming off of a game 7 at home in the playoffs, 11-13 straight up. So many of those are favorite, and they have lost more often than they've won at home. They're also 7-16-1 against the spread at 30%. Woof. The over in those spots is 17-7. I'm going to be on the over in this game, and I'm going to be on Miami plus 8, and I am going to be on Miami on the money line as well. The Heat will steal game 1. The Celtics will come back and dominate game 2. The Heat will win game 3 in their first home game. And everyone will talk about, finally, maybe this team is like, are the Celtics, they almost lost to the Sixers. Maybe they're not that. And then the Celtics will win the series because they're better. And the Heat really don't have the offensive weapons to keep up with them. But we can bank on Miami being able to take at least 2 games off of the Celtics team, because the Celtics team has never shown us that they will play consistently with intention and focus throughout the course of a series to build a big enough lead to avoid a team taking 2 off of them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab Heat plus 2.5 here on the series spread line. I think there's great value on that at minus 135 at BetMGM. It's one of the better numbers in the market. Miami's stubborn. They switch a lot. They're going to bog things down. You mentioned it. I do like the over in this particular spot, but in general, this is going to be an ugly series. I'll take Heat plus 2.5, minus 135 with full intention to bet the Celtics once they go down in the series.
Oh, it's going to be a tractor pull, isn't it, Matt Moore? It's going
Yes.
to be. I'm looking back at my Celtics flag here as we do this segment. By the way, Miami to win game 1, Boston to win the series at BetMGM plus 425. So you're actually getting a better price on that than the other series, Lakers and Nuggets. All right, my friend, should be good. Conference finals get underway tonight. Lakers and Nuggets Tuesday night, tonight, and then the Celtics and the Heat game 1 Wednesday night. Thanks for the time, Pam.
Thanks for joining me.
Okay, on to the Diamond MLB Tuesday. Notable games on the slate. Every team is in action. Here are some games we have highlighted. The Rays Dogs tonight, plus 135, taking on the Mets. Jalen Beeks opposes Justin Verlander. It's interesting. I haven't seen the Rays at that kind of price yet this year, at least in the last few weeks. Braves, Rangers, Twins, Dodgers, and then whatever Aaron Judge does with his eyes tonight against the Blue Jays. Hopefully the questions stop. He was saying, Anthony Dabbundo joins us now. He was saying that he was just trying to take a look at the dugout for everyone to just settle down and stop being so riled up. It had nothing to do with looking at a catcher or a base coach. anything of the like. Anywho, you've got a couple of underdogs that you like tonight, including those Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Yankees crack the code of a tipping pitcher before. We saw that with Elvin Rodriguez last year. It would not shock me if they had figured out that one of the Jays pitchers was tipping, but that's within the rules. You're allowed to figure out that a pitcher's tipping and communicate that. So good for them. As long as they're not using cameras, it's all good for me. I do like Tampa Bay tonight. Jalen Beeks is going to be the starter, the lefty. He's going to open for Yanni Chirinos. And Chirinos has been pretty mediocre thus far in the majors. His strikeout rate is sub 10%. But I liked some of the stuff I saw from him in the minors. He had a really bad start to the season in AAA, started to turn it around. So when he got his promotion, coming off the big injury, we're seeing the stuff come back. The sinker looks really good, grading out very well by the Stuff Plus metrics, getting a lot of ground balls. And we're seeing this consistent problem with the Mets lineup. It's something we discussed on Payoff Pitch this morning. They are just not getting enough slug out of this group. It's Pete Alonso and then a lot of mediocre slugging, and they're finding trouble, trying to string together hits like they were so successful doing last season. Mets offense not living up to the projections, certainly a risk when you have one of the oldest rosters in baseball. And Justin Verlander, look, the stuff looked really good in his first outing and his first two outings against the Reds and the Tigers. Stuff Plus liked the numbers. Pretty solid, final line for Verlander. But this is a much better Tampa Bay lineup. The best offense in baseball against righties. Doesn't look like Yandy Diaz is going to play, but still do like the Rays here. I think Chirinos generally not getting a ton of market respect here. A bit surprised by that. And Verlander, as is tradition, seem to bet against him every start. I do like the Rays. You can find them as high as plus 140 out there now. Like them down to about plus 135.
Tampa Bay in 2023, 3-1 as an underdog. So only 4 games this year they've been an underdog. And I would imagine short dogs plus 135, I guess is still considered short, but yeah, it's a pretty good price. I would go grab that now because I have a feeling that could move. And the people, according to the Action app, the people are coming in on Tampa. So they're a public side today too. Why do you like the Pirates, a team we didn't discuss in the notable games? You like the Pirates tonight as a dog against the Tigers?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would ever say that Pirates Tigers is going to make any notable games list, but I am interested by both starting pitchers here. I like Michael Lorenzen. He figured out some early season walk and command issues. He has been tweaking the changeup to get more ground balls, to induce more weak contact, and he has had back-to-back good starts since he talked about changing that changeup. But I like Luis Ortiz even more. Put together some very impressive Stuff Plus numbers last year in his limited time in the bigs. The question with him was command. Could he throw enough strikes to stick as a starting pitcher? Well, the data from AAA last year and into this year in Indianapolis is pretty positive on his walk numbers, down to about 3 walks per 9, just serviceable in AAA. Came up, had 1 start against the Rockies, really struggled to get strikeouts, but again, the stuff numbers looked good, above average on most of his 2 best pitches, fastball and slider. Looked good there. I do expect him to strike more guys out going forward. And this is really also a bet against a Tigers lineup, which has struggled with high fastballs. They have the lowest expected WOBA on high fastballs in baseball. Ortiz is going to throw a lot of them with a lot of velocity. And the Tigers just generally against right-handed pitching have been one of the worst offenses in the league this year. And they're dating back to last year, the worst offense against righties. Have not seen that kind of progression we thought we'd see from Spencer Torkelson. Javi Baez has had his moments, but hasn't been great. And then the offseason additions of Vierling and Maton haven't really paid off for them in that lineup either. So don't love either lineup here. Do like the Pirates, anything plus money on Pittsburgh to win today. Like the better starter, better lineup. Go Pirates.
They're slipping a bit, huh? Based on how they started. We talked about this a few weeks back, I think, on Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, presented by BetMGM. Are you fearful that this is what they are, 500 team, and they're just going to try and stay afloat?
Yeah, I mean, I said that I think they could play to about a 500 record once they had the hot start. I did think regression was inevitable. Didn't really see them as a threat in the Central. The thing was, they had a really great start from guys like Connor Joe, Jack Sawinski, even down to a Johan Oviedo or a Vince Velasquez. We have enough track record on some of those guys to say that it's probably not going to last. Sawinski was the most interesting, and we're already seeing with him that his strikeout rates are becoming an issue again. He's really regressed. So this lineup just not quite producing enough, and that back end of the rotation, not great. But I still love, Keller, Contreras, Ortiz. It's a pretty good top of the rotation to potentially build around for the future. There are pieces coming. They will get Cruz back, but Pittsburgh's still probably a year away from being competitive and keeping some guys in the high minors that I think could come up and provide a boost here.
Before we shift gears to soccer, you've got your Dinger Tuesday column up at Action Network, actionnetwork.com, Action Network app. Want to give out a couple quickly?
Yeah, we'll go with a fun one. Brenton Doyle is 6-1 in Colorado. Two awful below replacement level starting pitchers going in that one. Should be interesting. Doyle comes up kind of an unheralded prospect out of nowhere. And we see this sometimes. He hit 26 homers last year in the minors. He had 5 in 57 plate appearances, has a ton of swing and miss, 30 grade hit tool from Fangraphs. So not going to stick probably as an everyday major league hitter, but we see these guys come up with a ton of power, hit for some homers, and then eventually strike out too much and go back down. Doyle's in that kind of way. He's barreled 4 balls in the last 2 days, hit 4 balls over 400 feet. The power's there at 6-1 against a really bad starter for the Reds. It's worth a shot.
Okay, very good. Dinger Tuesday picks, and you can find the column, as I said. Dabbundo's got it up right now at Action Network. On to soccer, football, Champions League. You've got a play that you'd like to share on the show.
Yeah, so Inter Milan and AC Milan just kicking off now in the Champions League. Inter holding a 2-0 lead at home, playing in the same stadium, of course. But the matchup that everybody's really been looking for, the de facto final, some have said, is on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, Manchester City against Real Madrid. I was on the show last week. We said, City's a little overvalued coming into the first leg on the road. They were laying a quarter of a goal. It ended in a draw, and that was a fair result. Now City comes home. They opened minus 130, 135 at most shops, including BetMGM. And now they're up to about minus 165, minus 170. So there's been a lot of money that's come in on Manchester City. I think it's a little bit juicy now to have to lay the full goal spread, given that I think this is going to be a pretty cagey, low event game once again. The biggest question mark, Real Madrid, their lone goal came when they were able to break through the City press. They did that a couple times at home. I think it's going to be a much more difficult challenge to do it on the road at the Etihad against City's press. We've seen teams go up against them on the road this year and really struggle to get out and play out from the back without giving away high turnovers, giving chances to Haaland. So I'm going to take a fun prop here. City to win to 0. So that's City shutout victory, plus 170. That's how I'd play it now that the market has moved towards City. I think that's the best way to go at this. Real Madrid's, we know how lethal they are. We know they seem to always find the magical moments in the Champions League. This strikes me as the Cinderella run of the last 2 years, really, running out as they face the best team in the world, Manchester City, on Wednesday, setting up a potential, an English-Italian final in June.
Man City, Real Madrid gets underway tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Anthony Dabbundo, thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge on the diamond and on the pitch.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk some hockey. Odds to win the Stanley Cup. 4 teams remain. Hurricanes your favorite at plus 200. Golden Knights file in next. The Stars and Panthers follow. It's a very tight Final Four for the Stanley Cup. Let's listen in to the Line Change pod. We've got Michael Leboff and Nick Martin discussing who they think will be the leading goal scorer in the entire series between the Canes and Panthers.
Yeah, I've got 2. I like Necas to lead from Carolina. He's their second best goal scorer in the regular season. He looked really good versus New Jersey. I think that this series can set up well for him for some of the same reasons it set up well versus New Jersey. Some of the reasons that I think it's set up well versus Nylander in the Toronto series in terms of the matchups he'll get and his ability to skate and create off the wall and in transition. So I think Necas, and I like Seth Jarvis. Those would be my 2 that are Carolina's 3rd and 4th favorites, I think. But regardless, 10-1, 12-1 for each of them. I think those are both very playable. I think
you can get Necas.
There's a really good chance.
You can get Necas and Jarvis at BetMGM, both of them at 12-1. I don't hate those at all. We talked about Kotkaniemi on the last one kind of being on our short list, and his number was just too short at 22. I think if you're looking for like a more reasonable long shot on Florida, my answer would probably be like Anthony Duclair at 30-1. Sam Bennett, I wish was a little bit longer, but he's only 14. But yeah, I think Carolina, Necas, Jarvis are fine at their number.
And folks, don't forget, you can listen to the Line Change Pod all postseason long, right through the Stanley Cup final. They'll have episodes breaking down each of the games, series prices, player props, all available. Action Network's NHL podcast, the Line Change Pod. All right. And again, folks, you can follow our show, Green Dot Daily, in the Action Network app at Green Dot Daily to see all of the picks from this particular show, also previous shows, futures, all that good stuff available in the Action Network app. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That'll do it on today's version of Green Dot Daily. Thanks so much for tuning in. Brendan Glasheen signing off. Thanks to all of our guests that joined the show today. Our great crew behind the scenes getting us up and running. Maria Marino will be back and join you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you.